Hello and welcome to episode 17 of my informative completionist playthrough of Pathfinder Kingmaker. And you will notice that we have moved considerably. I'll bring up the map, so we're over here now. I just didn't want to record running through the dungeon to get back out here. And we're basically going to do our last encounter in the Old Sycamore until we return in Act 2. And that is Grarrukh here, which, if you remember, way back when we first came here, the mites and kobolds in the friendly camp down here said, "Can you please get rid of this horrible worg?" And we are going to do just that.
Lasts forever.
I've also rested, which means we have access to our second level spells, of which I took Blur in the last video. But basically, I'm just going to buff up.
Spell's not working. That's mean.
And we're going to just cast some regular buffs. So buffing kind of becomes a really essential part of the game from about this stage onwards. We're not going to go all out here because I'd like to save some of this stuff for some later encounters.
I am never wrong.
However, we are going
No
to
time for idling. I'm always ready.
cast some relatively basic ones. There we go, that should do.
I'll share my path.
And I'm actually just going to rearrange our formation because we're a bit close together for this stage in the game. It's getting a bit annoying. It's a bit better to be spaced out a bit.
How cute!
That's better. So we can see two wolves, and there are two more invisible wolves that we can't see. So
I'm listening.
we're just going to initiate combat.
As you order.
So the beast before you is unusually large, and its eyes are especially angry. And it's smirking. And this warg says we might even be of some use to each other. And what it wants us to do is kill the kobolds and mites. But first of all, who are you? And he just says he's lived here a long time. And we can ask him what the war between the kobolds and the mites. But all he says is, good eating. And if we ask, how can we be useful to each other? He wants meat. And, we'd go back to the camp, we'd kill the kobolds and the mites, and we would come and feed them to the wolf. He would reveal the location of a treasure chest here, where an old traveller buried his chest. That chest is trapped, right? And it's very difficult. It's got a high DC to spot the trap, and it's also got a very high DC to disarm the trap. And it's a Finger of Death trap, and the Finger of Death is cast with a high DC, so it's likely that it's going to kill you. So yes, it's quite unpleasant. So we're going to say we're not interested, and we're going to pick this lawful good. Your words won't save you, monster. And it's Regongar, chaotic evil. He's just like, yeah, let's mess up this wolf. And likewise, Valerie, neutral, lawful neutral, agrees, but for different reasons. Good, I love fresh meat. So these are just regular wolves here, level 2, pretty weak. But Garuk is, he's got barbarian levels, and even though we haven't inspected him, you can tell by the rage and the lethal stance that he has barbarian levels. So we're going to hopefully choose to just strip these wolves away, and we're just going to get ready.
Serves you right.
And we're going to attempt to demoralize him, because that'll put him on the back foot. For one dead. What we don't really want is this back line to get caught by these invisible wolves. There's one. So you might as well attack there. Hopefully, we're not going to get got here.
You offend me.
Valerie hit. There it is. And so
Become as dust.
Onwards!
I'm back
You
to
deserved
demoralizing. Dead, dead, dead. And we're just going to try with some spell combat here to do some what do you call it? Shocking grasp.
Repent.
Time
Stay
to attack.
behind me!
Your time is over.
Ah, that one's not dead.
Let us strike as one!
There we go. Oh, she's been tripped. Really quite unpleasant, wolves. But hopefully
Your life ebbs low.
we'll be able to take him
Away,
down.
you rascal.
Might throw some magic missiles
Stand down.
in his direction.
I can't keep this up much longer.
So, yeah, that's our information there. So, 4 magic beast, 3 barbarian. Not with lots of experience, but pretty high HP, and you're pretty lethal attack at plus 13. So a tough enemy. I'd never want to fight him early, and we were just a bit unfortunate that Valerie really took the brunt there. We can skin them, and all he gives is a worg pelt. We'll collect that, and there's a bit of treasure up here. There we go. Just going to
Sorry.
do a bit of healing on Valerie. A whole 11 HP. And we might as well burn through these channels. Bring her up to scratch. Now, we're going to come all the way back over here. We can... Well, maybe I'll try it. What's our mobility? Lindsay, what's your mobility like? 11. It's athletics, isn't it? So we're not going to pass it because we don't have anybody. Well, okay. Going to go all out on trying to pass
Anything
this.
is possible.
Easy as
There we
Requires
go.
my attention.
And we get a whole 13 experience. Disarm this. The reason we've been able to spot this is because we failed every perception check last time, but we were at a lower level. So because we've leveled up, we can now reattempt perception checks. And fortunately, we managed to get that one done. And I've dealt with the wolf leader, and here we get 283 coins. And that's it. That's all we're going to do here. We're going to head off, and we're going to head back to Oleg's, but on the way, we're going to stop off in what's called the Endless Plains. Who are we missing? No one? Whoops. And... time to leave. So yeah, we're going to visit the Endless Plains where there's a big Manticore and some good items for our team. But really, we want to head back. We want to cash in Tartuccio's death, as it were. And we'll also... I need to buy a bag of holding. Lesser bag of holding, which I keep forgetting to buy. We're going to check if we can reveal Riverine Rise. We're not going to visit here. There's a large water elemental, which is a level 8 enemy. Level 8 enemy, quite tough. If you're familiar with Wrath of the Righteous, you'll be very familiar with fighting large water elementals at much lower levels than you'd be doing it here. Believe in the prologue, where you'll either be level 2 or 3. But here we go. We'll enter the Endless Plains and avoid... Because the water elemental is quite close to the Staglor's camp, which becomes our capital. it's not a very long distance for us to go out and do that once we reach level 5, which makes the whole thing much easier. This is a scimitar +1 there, so that's an upgrade for Regongar. And this is a wand of grease, which we may use, we may not. Anyway, well done, Regongar. You've gained that lovely scimitar. You can actually come here. You don't need to fight any Manticores. You just come here and grab that, and if you're playing like a Magus yourself, or if you've got Regongar, you can grab that nice upgrade straight away. Now,
The dangers don't frighten me.
since we're heading back to rest, we're just going to do a little bit of buffing.
Is full of wonder.
The Manticore is probably easier than Grarrukh, but it's certainly not something you'd want to encounter at level 2. So,
Is there trouble?
and we are going to only make one person big because it's just quite awkward with the space, I think is how I'd describe it.
Poisons. The art of killing is so diverse these days.
A simple smile
A
goes a
shame
long
one
way.
life is not enough to master them all.
Together we are unstoppable.
We should move.
A simple smile goes a long way.
What troubles you?
And there we go. I believe the Manticore can actually be greased. As in, despite having wings, it's susceptible to prone. Don't take my word on that, though. I will.
A reckoning is at hand.
I'll confirm it, because if it's not immune to prone, it's not immune to grease. So you could probably defeat it at a lower level than this, if you knew that. Yes. So let's just have a little look. Yeah, lawful evil magical beast. We don't know what its abilities are, but this is a Manticore. Level 6, high strength, high constitution, less experienced than Grarrukh, so theoretically easier. We're just going to bring our team in. Here it comes. We'll let the leopard take the brunt
Do not
there.
falter.
And we'll see about spell combating it.
Bleed for me.
Can
You
demoralize.
should have run.
We won't fire magic missiles.
You offend me.
And we'll see if we can
What a
stick it with a
waste.
spear.
Any last wishes?
You're on demoralized there.
Your time is
Look at that. Love that Magus ability. It's demoralized.
Become
And it's kind of just an auto attack now. There we go. He does, you know, that's just great. I mean, we're not using spell strike because if I just briefly explain the difference, like when you're using spell combat, you attack with a touch attack with one hand and your sword with the other. So you get a free extra attack, which is a touch attack that you select here, and you can use Touch of Fatigue, which is a cantrip, so you can use that as much as possible, or you can say use Shocking Grasp. Because of that, your attack is made, your melee attack is at a -2 penalty, but your touch attack is made as a touch attack, if that makes sense. Whereas with Spell Strike on, you need to make a melee attack, not a melee touch attack. And if that's successful, then you deal both the melee attack and the touch attack. Now, the benefit to that is that you can crit. You have a critical hit chance, which is your weapon's critical hit chance. So 18 to 20 in the case of Regongar's scimitar. So you've got a higher chance of that critical hit. The downside is that it's harder to hit. Anyway, we failed to skin the Manticore. Manticore pelts are quite valuable, but we're not going to reload. Dueling sword, and this is quite nice, belt of dexterity. And I think we're probably just going to give this to Lindsay. The other candidate is Harim because of his dexterity penalty. This would even it out, but you know, hopefully we're just not going to be letting him get
I'll
hit.
share my path.
And that's it. You can just see here we haven't managed to unlock the information, but Yeah, that's the Manticore. Try greasing it if nothing else works. When I first played this game, I came here at like level 2, and the Manticore killed me like very, very quickly, and I thought, this game is rubbish. It's too difficult, and I can't do it. But here I am, like making a video where the intention is to show off like being good at this game.
Adventures can wait.
So yeah, don't be put off if you start playing and you start thinking this game is just, you know, not for me, because it's really hard. It's so rewarding once you get it. To the point where difficulties which you might have found really tough, you might have been reloading a lot, you might have been wondering what you were doing, like become
Gather our strength.
you can just sort of steamroll through it. And you know, I'm playing some pretty I'm playing
This is my time to
early
shine.
game weak characters, so you'll notice my sorceress here. She is she's not voiced. So I was just going to say my sorceress is not early game strong, but she's mostly making other people big. Anyway, the Guardian of the Bloom. This is because we've defeated Tartuccio and cleared the Temple of the Elk, our 2 main tasks. We get this final meeting with the Guardian of the Bloom, and she says she's not even dreamed of encountering someone who could stand against the one who blights me. Please go there and slay our enemy, i.e. the Stag Lord, before he can strike another blow. And first of all, is she going to help us in battle? No. So she claims she doesn't have any power to do it. And what will happen after I defeat the Stag Lord? Will I ever see you again? And she quite likes this. She's like, what, you want to see me again? Anyway, yes, basically once the Stag Lord is gone, she proposes some sort of, we'll hang out. that's what she's saying. And so we're gonna take the choice that is going to advance the friendly relationship with the Guardian of the Bloom, which is you can count on me. No one will ever harm you anymore. And she really likes that. And she gives us this, the Nymph's Gift, which is an important plot item. So, she says, should you lose, my heart will stop with yours, but should you win, the sun shall rise once more over these lands. I leave you a small gift, a token of hope, and the reward that awaits you after all these hardships. Farewell. No, take care. We get a little chunk of experience, and the Nymph's Gift. And off she fades. So we can just see this here. Necklace gives the wearer +2 dodge bonus to AC against ranged attacks. That's really good because dodge bonuses are great. But I just want to sort of point out the appearance because, and what it says here, pendant with a lock of hair. So it's got Nymph's hair inside it. There's something to be paid attention to there. And we're actually gonna give it to Valerie. So we're not gonna wear it ourselves. And we can pass this necklace of natural armor on to Harem. Now these don't stack with bark skin, basically, so they're actually best on characters you're not going to be casting bark skin on all the time. Although, if you're ambushed, then you might want one, because the idea is that there are better uses for this slot, such as +2 to dodge AC, or +2 to enchantment DC. Like, these are powerful things. Whereas the necklace of natural armor can be replicated with bark skin. Now, we're just going to sell our just assorted stuff. That's great. And the thing I'd been meaning to remember to buy is this 2,500 bag of holding small. This means we can carry another £100. So if you look down here, once I buy that, it just subtracts weight. So it never goes lower than 0, if I remember rightly. But you can pick things up and it will remain at 0 if you're stacking loads of bags of holding. Now, we've still got some more chatting to do to people. So I thought not last episode, episode before last, we talked to Harem and we talked to Jod. So I thought I would end this episode with a conversation with Valerie, who we haven't spoken to yet. And again, I'll do my thoughts as we go, because I really like Valerie as a character, and both her, her justification, I guess, her writing. A lot of people complain about writing in these games, but I guess I fill in the blanks. And also, I like her archetype, Tower Shield Specialist, and I like Fighter as a class. It's just very versatile to hit things with a big sword. Anyway, let's talk to Valerie. So, greetings. Everything is well, I hope. I'm ready for new orders. So, bear in mind, Valerie is lawful neutral, and she's very much of the lawful side, like sort of hierarchy and orders and that sort of stuff. And we haven't spoken to Valerie at all, so days later, tell me about yourself. What exactly would you like to know? I was born to a noble family, though I didn't remain long on the family estate. My father sent me to the Order of the Eternal Rose, but I left once I realized that it didn't match my principles. Now, the Order of Eternal Rose, this are Paladins of Shelyn, the goddess of beauty, whose statue we encountered in the Sycamore Depths, over in the southwest portion. And this is archetype. This is not archetypal. This is essential to Valerie's story. This her relationship with the Paladins of Shelyn, and you can see she is not a paladin, and she is not lawful good. So there's a story here. Shelyn, it sort of says it here, but this idea, Shelyn as the god of beauty and art and love and music, and half sister to Zon Kuthon, who is like, if you've ever seen Hellraiser, right, the Cenobites, he's like, he's like one of them. He's a sort of god of torture and all sorts of horrible things. So it's that sort of juxtaposition. He used to be good, and he was corrupted when he went into the outer beyond of the Pathfinder cosmology, and it sort of drove him mad to basically become a Cenobite style god. Yes. Anyway, before I get too distracted, Valerie, where were you from? What was your childhood like? And something we didn't know, she was born in Brevoy. So because we came from Restov, which is in Brevoy, so that's where she's from. And if you remember, she was serving Jamandi Aldori. She wasn't an adventurer who had come to visit the Stolen Lands. She only to seek her fortune. She only joined as a result of the assassination attempt. But she's never actually seen much of Brevoy, or she hadn't when she was a child, because she was in a very wealthy, noble estate, presumably out in the countryside somewhere. Never any need to leave the grounds. And her father was a benefactor of the Church of Shelyn, patron of the arts, you might say. And she was home educated by her mother in all the sort of noble sort of things, a sort of, I guess a Western, 18th century noble daughter would be educated in. If you think like England, you might be able to tell from my accent. That's where I'm from. Yeah. So table manners and the sort of stuff that a girl of noble birth would learn. Yes, and her home was under the protection of Paladins of Shelyn because her father had donated so much money, and she was rather enamoured with their armour. She likes armour, she likes big shields. Yeah. So, why were you sent to join the Order of the Eternal Rose? And So this is, you might not pick it up from the portrait here, although I think it does a decent job. Is that the idea is that Valerie is exceptionally beautiful, and the reason she's got a haircut like this is almost to disguise that, and so people were always crowding round her because of that, and she didn't really like it, but because of that she was sent off to the Church of Shelyn to hang out as I guess she kind of sort of felt like she was simply a token to them, and she really disliked that. But her parents weren't cruel. They were just really, really sort of enamoured with the Church of Shelyn, and they came to visit once. Besides, they didn't abandon me. Once every 6 months, they'd come and visit me at the Order of the Eternal Rose. We had some tea, and then an hour to walk around the garden. Then they'd take their leave, as etiquette demanded. I like that bit of writing, because that really, it's a good way of explaining the relationship she had with her parents. So what did they teach you at the Order? Basically, she learned swordsmanship, had physical activities, but a lot of sort of things that you can imagine that paladins of the god of art and beauty would be really into, like painting, poetry, arts, calligraphy, which he considers to be a waste of time. And basically she was really into the sword stuff, but not the art stuff, which would make her a good fit as a fighter, but not really as a paladin of Shelyn. So now we get to the crux of it. Why did you leave the Order? Too beautiful. That's not the full story. Basically, she got very annoyed at the fact that people were just always hassling her. And people get dedicating poems to her. So she, I guess, how do you say, like, she wanted to be left alone, right? She wanted to learn how to fight, don a big suit of armor, learn how to use a sword. That was what she really was interested in. But mostly she found herself doing, embroidery or, calligraphy, and having lots of people read their poems to her about her, which she found a bit nauseating. And you might think you might find that annoying about her. I think that Valerie is a divisive character because, of course, characters in RPGs always are. No character is universally liked. But basically, she was just got so annoyed at this that she snapped, and while somebody was reading an annoying poem to her, she just tore it up in front of his face. And they tried to. The paladins wanted her to recant and do some penance, but instead she just was like, right, that's it, I'm off. And so what did you do after you left the Order? And she left to Restov, where of course we met her, and she took a job working for the Aldori as we found her. And she was hoping to learn the Aldori dueling style, but in fact, she found that it was easier just to raise up a big shield. So yeah, and she joined the mercenaries who served the sword lords. That's it. Now she doesn't like this question, but we learn a bit more, and we have a bit like Harem, we have an opportunity to make it good. So I'm still going to pick this one, and so basically I've said I bet UPG inspired many people in the Order, which from what she said, the answer is yes, but she didn't like it, and she's just quite annoyed by the whole situation, but she's sort of saying here, well, I wasn't sort of I didn't do anything. People just come to me, and she cut off all her long hair, and this is important part that she still gets letters. It's just and bit of a rant. She's getting angry. Do you know what I really want? She wants to be treated as a person, not as a piece of art to be admired and sitting for paintings. And we can say all these things, but really, we're gonna go, sympathy route. Thank you for your honesty. I understand you very well. You're a true friend who I can trust with my life. And Valerie's almost like the ideal, right hand, the ideal sort of follower, like, head of your guard, if that makes sort of sense. Like, she's being, because of her lawful reputation, she's, latched herself to Alice to sort of, carry out her orders. Anyway, thank you for pick that one. And she's really pleased about this. And you share a tender moment. Everyone's smiling, and let's change the subject. So there's, if you think about it, that was all just in the little bit of backstory there. Now I am going to run through some of these others, and some of them I'm not going to pick. So just want to know a bit more about Shelyn and her paladins. We've sort of seen this comment before, and she's full of contempt for them. Actually, they're fanatical defenders of worthless, inartistic paintings and meaningless opuses. If you care to know my opinion, you speak of Shelyn with such contempt. What did the goddess of beauty do to earn your anger? And she's goddess of everything useless. Yeah. Nothing and nobody can change my mind. And as far as I know, you can't convince her otherwise. She said, I'm just glad I was smart enough to denounce her while I still could. What do Paladins of Shelyn usually do? They wander around seeking the next pile of garbage. When they find it, they call it an immortal piece of art and they admire it until they're blue in the face. Yeah, so this is an important bit. The Paladins of Shelyn can't kill their enemies if they beg for mercy, because anybody is capable of creating wonderful art. Whereas, you get the impression that Valerie would just cut them in half with her sword. And so we can ask her, having clicked on this, she had to practice some art. So what type of art did you do? And she will tell us she used to embroider, and she still does. So yeah, that's it. We can ask her, I understand not every piece of art is good or decent, but surely there must be at least a few great works among them. And many share that delusion. I was deluded too for a while. And I guess this is quite important. She literally thinks that all art is worthless. And that's a pretty hard line on art. I strongly disagree with that personally. But, that art serves a purpose, and she sort of says the peasant doesn't paint a picture, he plows the earth to feed his family, which I don't think is true. Like people of all classes have produced art and do produce art. It's a way of making meaning out of the world around you. But again, this isn't I'm gonna talk about how much I disagree with Valerie's philosophical approach to art. So I see. Let's talk about something else. This is, I guess, a dialogue tree error. No, it's not. Sorry, forget that. By saying let's talk about something else, she's going like, yes, let's. This is another important part of Valerie's character, that she's an atheist. Now, in Pathfinder, obviously, the gods and goddesses exist, and it's known that they exist, and they intervene and they grant divine power, and it's very obvious that they are real. So to be an atheist in Pathfinder is not to say that gods don't exist, since there is tangible proof that they do. It's simply to reject the worship of them, which is quite a brave stance, because the existence of the deities, including immensely powerful ones like, Pharasma, who I talked about in a previous episode. That they intervene directly in Galarian, and yet you just say, well, screw them. And she says she had her leader's orders to live by, and that's us. Like I said, she makes a good second in command. You don't have to follow etiquette and maintain good manners while speaking to me if you don't want to. But basically her past gets in the way. It's been drilled into her. And and maybe if you were really digging into it, maybe her thought that peasants don't produce art is actually a reflection of her noble upbringing, because so I rather enjoy the idea that my manner of social speech differs a bit from the common tongue of the peasantry, like as in her noble birth still, she hasn't tried to discard that, and so her opinions or her thoughts on art come with a not particularly accurate view of who produces art, if that makes sense. And I said I wasn't going to go off on one. Anyway, we can. I guess you have plenty of suitors, and you're really quite beautiful. You're a reliable friend of Ali, but yeah, we're not going to pick this one. She is romanceable for a male character. If you play a male character, I don't think I've ever run through this game with a male character, so I wouldn't know. Anyway, we're going to pick this one. You're so eager to follow my orders. Why? And basically, she's got faith in us. She believes our intentions are noble, though things may not always turn out as you've planned. And yes, your orders are law. It's my duty to follow them. And I've often thought that sort of lawful neutral, it fits. This is like the embodiment of lawful neutral follower, if that makes sense, because that alignment square or alignment wheel, there's almost a second level to it, depending on if you're lawful neutral, what you do will depend on where you sit within the hierarchy that you respect and follow. If you're at the top, your approach, your choices, your alignment choices might be quite different to if you're in the middle or in the bottom. Anyway, we're not going to ask any of these. We're just going to say thanks for your conversation. Talk to you later. And I'm going to call the video quits there, because we've done 2 areas. No, well, we've done Garrukh and the Endless Plains, and I've chatted endlessly about Valerie. And so I will pick up in the next video. See you then.